Hi everyone, welcome back to Rachel's studio, and in today's tutorial, it's going to be part 2 of last week's part 1, where we talked about how to get a digital capture of your painting so you can make prints or other items with your art. So in today's tutorial, we're going to level it up just a little bit and talk about how to use a scanner. I'm going to tell you about what scanner I use. It's not expensive, by the way, and they still make it, which is amazing because I've had it for years. And I love it. It's so simple and you'll love it too. So I can't wait to tell you about that. If you want something a little more fancy, I'll talk about some other scanners on the market, why those might be better. And I'm also going to talk to you more about PIXLR. Last week, I talked about how to use PIXLR for color correction. So be sure to check that out. I was very surprised at how much I could do with PIXLR. It's very comparable to Photoshop, and even the looks and feels very similar to Photoshop. I'll show you how to stitch your pictures together, because if your painting's bigger than an 8x10, you're going to have to take several scans of different sections of your painting, and then you'll have to stitch them together. So I'm going to show you how to stitch them together in PIXLR. Be sure to check out the description below for links to the scanners that I talk about today, links to free tutorials I have, links to my Facebook group where you can come share your art and get feedback and give feedback. And you can also join my Patreon if you're interested in learning how to paint from me, from any of the images that you see in this video or any other video I've done in the last 2 years. There's a whole library available to you as soon as you join, and I'd love to have you there. Thank you so much to my Patreon members who make this channel possible and make all my dreams come true, truly. Thank you so much. So let's go ahead and get started and do some scanning. Let's dust this baby off. This is my Epson V39 scanner, and I have had this for at least 10 years. I think it came free with the computer one year, and I was certain that this was no longer being made, but I was surprised when I did research for this video and found out that they are still making this. This is still available, and it was even one of the top rated scanners for beginners in a tutorial that I watched to educate myself about different scanners that are available on the market today. So let's take a look at what this little baby can do, and look how little and lightweight it is. That's why it's so great for beginners, and if you're just going to use it once in a while, this thing works great. I have been able to scan my paintings for years and sell them online, and I've made thousands of dollars doing that. So this is a perfectly good little scanner, and it's not too expensive. I think it's $140 on Amazon. And if you look in the description below, you will find links to this and the other scanners that I talk about, the other equipment I talk about, and all my art supplies, and those are affiliate links. So I appreciate it when you use those. I do get a little commission, but it doesn't make it more expensive for you. So now the downfall with this V39 is its small scanner bed. So I'm going to show you a few other scanners that have a little bit more capability. Let's take a look. And that is the Plustek OptiSlim A3, and that one is a large format scanner. It scans almost 12 inches by 17 inches. So it'll scan your 11 by 14s and smaller with one go. You don't have to paste them together in a photo editing app. So that's a good one. I will put that link below as well. And then another one is the Epson Expression 12000 XL. It's a large format. It scans 12 by 17 inches approximately. It is fancy, it is top of the line for at-home scanning, and it's very expensive. So I don't really suggest that when these other printers, even the Epson V39, I've been using that for years and selling very large prints. Like I've got a print that's as big as my couch, basically hanging above my couch right now. And I got that image into my computer by using my scanners. So that is a perfectly acceptable scanner. I don't recommend spending $3,000 on a scanner, but if you decide that you want to go all out, I will put a link to the Epson Expression 12000 XL below and enjoy the tidy little commission I will get off that. All right, I see that I need to sign this. All right, I'm going to sign, by the way, with my Tombow Fudenosuke calligraphy pen. All right, so let's put it in my scanner. And this is what Kitty does all day until I put her up in my chair. And it's a little bit wider than my scanner bed, so I'm going to have to scan it twice to get the whole image so I can show you that process. That's why 9 times out of 10, it's just easier to use your camera or your smartphone, which usually will take high enough resolution unless you plan on blowing your picture up to a huge size. I'm going to scan. Now, when you scan, you want to make sure that you're scanning at the highest resolution your scanner will do. This one will do 300 dots per inch. So that's 300 pixels resolution, and that will be large enough. That'll be about 3,500 pixels on one side. And for, say, an 8 by 10 inch printout, a 200 resolution is fine for regular printing, and that'll be about 1,600 by 2,000 pixels. I just know that because I've printed so many 8 by 10s and arranged them. So as long as you get something that big, your print, if it's an 8 by 10 or even an 11 by 14, will look fine. So we're going to choose 300 resolution. This should all be set up in your scanner. And also I choose to scan in professional mode. All right, now let's do some photo editing. Giddy, do you want to come along with us? Come on, you can come sit with me. All right, now let's watch me fumble around with PIXLR for shoots and giggles. Why don't we? I definitely know how to do this in Photoshop, but PIXLR is a little new to me, but luckily PIXLR designers have made PIXLR very similar to Photoshop. And even some of the newer tools that I have been learning in Photoshop are available in PIXLR. It's pretty amazing that this is free. So let's take a look at PIXLR and how to stitch your images together that you scanned together using PIXLR. And by the way, just know if you don't know how to do anything in PIXLR, just do a YouTube search. For example, for this, you would search how to stitch together two images using PIXLR, and you will probably find 10 tutorials. So there's lots of support out there on the internet. And so just know you are you giving me love bites? But anyway, let's fumble around with it here. There's going to be a lot of fumbling. So enjoy yourself watching me fumble around. So first, let's go to pixlr.com. All right, and then I'm going to choose Advanced Photo Editor. And now I'm going to fumble around some more because I scanned the lion painting and I can't find it. So I'm kind of panicking here because I'm like, where did I put it? And I put it in the wrong place. So did you know that if you lose an image and you know at least what name you've given it in the file, then you can look for it. So in a second, I'm going to search for it, and this might be a little side tip for those of you who don't know how to search for images in your folders. Okay, so now look at the upper right-hand box of my folder, and there's a Search Pictures box. So I'm going to search for lion in all my pictures on my entire computer, and that's how I finally find the lion scan. And that's why I would encourage you, when you name your files, be sure to put a name in them that will help you find them later if they get lost in some weird folder. Now that I've found the image, I click it and PIXLR prompts me to choose the size. And I choose original as long as it's not bigger than the specified maximum size, 3,509 pixels. So that's something to think about with this program. There is a limit to how big your image can be possibly. So again, I'm going to choose original, then hit apply. All right, now I go to File again, Open Image, and I'm going to open my second scan. That's the other side of the painting. So I'll navigate down to that second image of the same file. That's just a different scan of a different section, and open that one as well. Hit Open, choose Original. And now if you look up above, directly above the painting, you'll see Lion 2022 Study 006.jpg and the same file extension, but 005.jpg. So those are the two images. And when you click on that bar there, you will navigate to whichever image you want to look at. And this other scan is upside down, the 005 file. And now I'm going to rotate this line because he is upside down. And so to do that, you go to Edit, Transform, and Rotate Right. And then I had to rotate him right again to get him in the right orientation. So I did the whole process again. I went to Edit, and that gets the lion picture at least in the right orientation. But you see how I still have the same problem. I don't have enough room to move him over
And so I'm looking through all the options. See here, I'm just searching, and you have to get in the mindset of just kind of poking around in these programs and learning them and looking around and seeing what does what. And it's just a learning curve and it takes time. So that's what I'm doing. I'm poking around in PIXLR, not finding what I need. So like I say to my son, I use a creative solution. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm just going to go ahead and create a whole new picture. It'll be a blank file. So what you'll see is a checkered background. You'll see it in a minute when I make this decision, and it ended up working. And it's just like a file of saran wrap. It's a clear layer. And then whatever you copy and paste into it is what you'll see. So what I'm going to end up doing is go to File up in the left-hand corner, and then I'm going to hit New, and then I'm going to put in that I want it to be 4,000 pixels wide, because right now this image is about 3,500 pixels wide. So I know I need it wider than that, so I'm going to add 500 pixels, and that should give me the wiggle room I need to make this wide enough to accommodate both images and give me room to kind of shuffle them around and move them around. You're going to need that room. So it's like taking a piece of paper that has to be bigger than the other two pieces of paper that you have to put on top of that to move them around to line them all up. So see where the checkerboard is? That's my new big blank image. And then, so now I have three images open. I have my new one, I've got my lion, and my other lion. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to lion number 1 and hit Control C, and that does work. So you just go to the one you want to copy, hit Control C, and then go to your blank canvas one and hit Control V, and it will paste that in there. So I just hit Control C, and then I hit Control V, and look, I pasted it in. And now if you look in layers, you can see the 3 layers. There's the first lion scan, that's the left side of the painting, and then the next one down is the right side of the scan, and then the layer number 1, which is just the checkerboard blank piece of paper, you can imagine it that way, is the 3rd layer. So all these layers can move independently of each other, and that's what we're going to have to do. And notice how there's an eye next to each layer, and I blink those on and off to see how much I need to move the image. And this one kind of got messed up because one of my lines somehow, in all my fiddling and futzing, one line ended up being bigger than the other. I don't know how I did that. And by the way, you can hit the Move tool. That's the tool that I used to highlight the layer. See how the layer that I'm working on is highlighted in green? That's how I know which layer I'm working with. Okay, so I'm using the Move tool. I'll point an arrow at the Move tool so you know where I clicked to get the tool that I needed to move this. And now see how there's, you can't see my clicker unfortunately, but I will point an arrow where I'm clicking the little eyeball on and off, and I click it off so that the layer disappears just for a split second so I can see how much I need to move it up, down. Do I need to rotate it? Do I need to make it a little smaller, a little bigger? And then it's just a matter of futzing with it until you get it lined up good enough. And I really messed this up because one line was bigger than the other, so I had to resize it, and then it got all messed up. So I probably would have been better off just starting over and making sure both lines were at least the same size, because it just added another layer of complexity. But see how I'm trying to line it up, then I make that top layer invisible to see if it's lined up correctly. And also about the same size. And the way I was making sure they're the same size is I was looking at the bottom edge of the paper and the top edge of the paper, and I knew those needed to line up. So that's kind of how I did it roughly. And of course, I'll go in back with my Comfort Zone app, my Photoshop, to really fix this. But here, see, you can grab that big middle top ball to rotate it to, and you'll probably end up needing to rotate it to, and you can drag that to rotate, and then you can drag those little corner squares on the corners to make the image a little bigger or smaller. You can use the move tool to drag the painting over to line it up with the underlying lion. You can also use your arrow keys. The arrow keys work on your keyboard. If you arrow over right, it'll move the image over like 1 pixel right. So that can be really, really useful for fine tuning and adjustments. So you can use your arrow keys too to move this image if you've got the move tool. The next stage of futzing is to erase the borders where there's kind of a harsh edge, because it's the edge of the scan, but it's not the edge of the painting. So now I'm going to choose the eraser tool, and I'll point to that, and I'll go up to the top and click on that 40, and then you can change the size of the eraser. I changed it to 200, so I get a much bigger erase, and you want to make the edges soft so that you can't see the transition between where you erased and where you didn't erase. So I could have made it even bigger, and see how now that little seam is erasing and it looks like one painting. It's starting to look good. See, now I highlighted the crop tool. I chose the crop tool over there in the left, and I'm just going to crop it in. And then when you like your crop, you can hit enter. In the upper left-hand corner, I've got some white missing, and I choose to use the brush tool. The brush tool can be great for cleaning up portraits too, and things like that, of photographs actually. But to make sure that I have the right color, first I use the dropper tool to choose the white background that I want to paint with. So there's the dropper tool, and I'm choosing that white. That's the white I want to paint with in the upper left-hand corner. And then I'm going to switch to the brush tool and just fill that in. See how I'm filling that in up there? I'm just cleaning up the image. This PIXLR is amazing. All the capabilities it has. I mean, it makes it tempting to stop paying for Photoshop, but I still need my video editing software. So anyway, I'm just playing with it to see what it can do. I'm just like, wow, look at all this. Cool. It even shows you triadic colors, tetradic, and analogous, complementary. Wow, that is cool. I don't know if Photoshop does that. It probably does. See how you can choose a color and it'll show you its complement? That's powerful. Okay, next we need to flatten the image. So to flatten the image, go to Layer, Flatten Image, and now notice over in the Layers window, now you don't see 3 images, you see 1. And only then can you save your image as a JPEG. All right, now I'm going to brightness and contrast. I'm going to zhuzh this up because the scan does leave it a little flat. And I'm just color correcting it here. It needs a little bit more contrast. Hit apply when you're happy with it. Okay, I'm hitting save. You want to use it as a JPEG. Use high. It's suggesting PNG. I don't know enough about that. That's not what I use. I use JPEG. I like JPEG. That's always worked well for me. Professional printers like TIFF files. But anyway, I'm just going to name it and put it in an area where I know where it's at. Hit save. I'm going to hit close. I'm going to close all these images out, and we are all done with PIXLR. Let's go take a look at my printer, shall we?
What did you say?
I'm just talking to my people. All right, this is my printer. It's an Epson Thank you so much for joining me on this tutorial, and I hope you will join me again. So be sure to subscribe, like this video, show the algorithm you love me by going and binging my content. That really helps me. Leave me a comment, and what really helps is when you join my Patreon, and I'd love you to join my art adventures there. Now go watercolor your world. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for today.